It's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, May 4th. So, May the 4th be with you. Let's just get that out of the way for all of my like-minded nerds out there. Today we have the moon moving out of Libran energy, moving into Scorpio energy, which of course is really going to kick this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio energy into high gear. Now, we are kind of moving out of the light and fluffy, shallow end of our emotions, of our thoughts, where we've been trying to kind of meet ourselves in the middle and compromise and negotiate in order to find safety, security, stability, peace, harmony within ourselves. Of course, that's the whole point of that Libran energy. However, the transition into Scorpio energy definitely takes us into the deep end. We have to kind of move into the shadow realm of our experiences. Scorpio energy is the shadow realm element. It is where great transformation takes place. But of course, for a transformation to take place, we have to unearth the darkness. We have to kind of look at it from all angles, from different perspectives, really identify the activations, the triggers in our egoic programming in order for us to actually turn it into light, something that we can work with, information and knowledge that we can kind of create to work for us instead of the egoic programming that obviously is working against us. So even without the full moon lunar eclipse intensity that we got going on here, the moon in Scorpio is always very, very intense, always very deep, always very probing. It is the detective of the zodiac, where we do have to do a deep dive into our psyche to kind of recognize where some bad habits, some unconscious programming needs to really be analyzed and illuminated in order for us to create something better, something stronger, something more in alignment out of the elements that we are recognizing are very deep-seated patterns and behaviors in our conditioning. The fact that it is a full moon that we are building towards means that those emotions within us are bubbling up. Prepare for a tipping point, a boil over, a trigger, an activated state of emotions. We are being pushed to have a deep purge, a deep release, if you will, of some of these emotions. You might not even know where they're coming from, but you are going to feel agitated as F as we get closer to this peak energy. And the lunar eclipse, we really can't predict what's coming at us, where it is that it's coming from, what it's going to mean for us in moving forward, because we're at the mercy of the cosmos here. This is a divinely scripted event that we will not make sense of for weeks to come, maybe even a 6-month cycle to come when we enter into the eclipse energy of the fall of 2023. This is a big deal. This is an ending point for all of us. Okay, so not only is it an ending point with the spiritual life lessons that we've been learning since May of 2021, but this is a 19-year cycle as well. So we got a lot going on, and we're definitely going to feel those intensities. The moon will go void, of course, at 5:17 a.m. in this Libran energy, and we will be locking into the Scorpio energy 10:33 a.m. again Eastern Standard Time. There are 8 different aspects here today. 7 of them involve the moon, and the only one that does not involve the moon is a little bit of a doozy. We will cover that here in just a sec. So, while the moon is still very much in Libran energy, we are going to trine with Venus. Venus rules over this Libran energy that the moon is in, and Venus, of course, in this Gemini energy gives us the trine because it's some air-on-air energy, which means we're all up in the mental plane. We're not really feeling, we're thinking about our feelings. And even more than that, we're divided in what it is that we're thinking and feeling. And even more than that, we're presented with new opportunities to leave old elements behind and create new ones, but we're on the fence about it. Why are we on the fence? Well, because the Libran energy is the most indecisive energy that we could be sitting in the zodiac, and the Gemini energy has us divided even furthermore with, again, very, very extreme choice points, very extreme directions, very extreme options. Now, this, granted, is a positive aspect, so we are going to be making a little bit of headway, a little bit of leeway, if you will, in trying to decipher the pros and cons of the options that we currently have on our plate. And emotionally speaking, we are starting to see a little bit of progress in identifying what it is that we actually need to create in our realms for safety, security, stability, happiness, and joy, to actually have a anchor, have a root, grounded point in our day-to-day. The moon will then interact with Neptune, which in this particular instance is going to provide us with a little bit of an opportunity to see our choices, to see different perspectives, to see different paths from a different set of eyes. Of course, that Neptune energy being in its place of power in Pisces, very spiritual, very intuitive in nature, definitely represents that higher self more so than anything else. But it's also going to put us in a very interesting position because, of course, the moon in Libra is divided. We have 1 foot in our ego, 1 foot in the intuitional realm. We have 1 foot in doing what is best for us, the other foot in trying to do what is best for other people. Again, another layer of division. And so what we get here is like I'm going to say, an opportunity to see the vision that we are trying to manifest in its truest form. We are going to be able to feel our intuition kind of pull us in the direction that we need to lean into. But there is going to be some resistance and hesitancy because that particular path is honoring what is best for us as the individual. And of course, the Libran energy has us too consumed with kind of backburnering what is right for us and stepping up to do what we think is best for other people or that other people expect us to do. The moon, right before it goes void, of course, is going to sit across and directly oppose Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings. Of course, in this Aries energy that sits across the street from this Libran energy, we definitely see at this particular point how that earlier aspect is even more magnified, even more kind of in our faces on the opportunities that we have to kind of step up to, accept, and go out in the world and create for ourselves versus the want, need, and desire to kind of put that on the back burner to continue to do what we think is right for other people. Now, this is going to put us at an interesting position because Jupiter usually hypes us up, gives us a lot of confidence, a lot of optimism, but the indecisiveness of Libran energy just kind of sucks all that magic right out of the air. So we are going to be struggling with our inner narrative, with our confidence, with our self-esteem, because we are being pulled in two very different directions, one that honors us, thyself, and one that honors other people. And of course, this is a good indicator, this Libran and Aries energy, on what the topics and themes for the next 18 months are going to bring us with the spiritual life lessons that we're about to move into when the true nodes of the moon shift into this Libra and Aries energy. And spoiler alert, this is about abandoning doing what is right for other people and showing up for other people and taking care of other people and compromising our own wants, needs, and desires for other people to pour into ourselves. And because we have basically been conditioned to live in a society where putting ourselves first is deemed to be selfish, many of us have been kind of raised under the people-pleasing programming that's going to be very hard to shake, and it's going to be a very, very tough love life lesson for many of us to learn over the next 18 months. So this is when the moon goes void, of course, and as I previously mentioned, we'll lock into the Scorpio energy at 10:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 11:12, we have our very first interaction with the moon in Scorpio, and it is a square, and it is with its ruler, Pluto, who, as you know, just went retrograde. If you haven't listened to that astro forecast, please go ahead and do so. If you haven't listened to May's energy forecast, please go ahead and do so. If you haven't downloaded your zodiac forecast for the month, please go ahead and do so that you know where all of these energies are affecting you and what area of your life you can expect to see them show up in. The moon in Scorpio gets into the boxing ring with Pluto, and this is definitely going to start unpacking the triggers and activations in order for us to kind of get real and raw and vulnerable in our emotions so that we can have that breakdown, boil over state of emotions that we are going to be building in intensities to that full moon that will be taking place here on Friday or early morning Saturday, depending on where it is that you're at in the world. This square brings up the conflict, brings up the tension point, brings up the resistance to change and transformation that many of us are fighting, even though it is something that we absolutely prayed for at one particular point of time. in our lives. Now, this is shadow work at its finest. Do not expect to think very clearly nor positively. Do not expect to feel very good about anything in life. This is not the time nor the place to, pull out those rainbows and butterflies. We have to feel what it is that we're feeling in order to heal it and to make the great transformation that we are currently being pressurized into making. Venus and Neptune are the only aspects here today outside of all the moon aspects taking place, and it's not a very happy one. Venus, of course, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, in this Gemini energy, very, very much in the mental plane, really coming up with some extreme choices and points of view on what it is that we want to do to spice up our lives and bring a little bit of excitement back into the realm of our existence. Neptune, of course, the higher octave of Venus, in the place of power of Pisces energy, very mystical, very spiritual, very, very connected to our higher self, to visions, to dreams, to our imagination, to our fantasies. It kind of gets blurry, gets a little bit choppy, if you will. And let me just say that this is going to bring a lot of confusion into play, because again, this is not a time of clarity. This is a time of confusion. It is going to kind of block us from seeing things very clearly, especially when it comes to our wants, needs, and desires. It is definitely going to mess with our perceptions, with our understandings. It's going to really cluster at the dreams that we've been trying to conjure up and actually manifest. And basically, it is a little bit of a reality check on where it is that we've been living in la la land and bringing our ideals into our awareness and recognizing how they're actually clashing with our current circumstances. And because we're not really picking up on the details in the way that we would like, and because we're not really, I'm going to say, reading people as clearly as we need, this is going to cluster F our thoughts, our feelings, especially where relationships and our finances are concerned. And there is this element where we are kind of setting ourselves up for disappointment at this particular point in time, because we are kind of living in delusion more so than we are living in reality, believe it or not. And there's this want, need, and desire to buy things to fill the void. And let me tell you, if you buy things in order to fill a void, you're going to kind of find yourself with a money pit or something, useless that you didn't need to buy. There's this discontent emotionally that we're recognizing that we have, and therefore we are looking outside of ourselves to kind of fill the voids that we should be filling within ourselves. And we are recognizing how discontent and unhappy we are with certain circumstances. We're looking for that happiness, for that contentment in all the wrong places. So be very careful, first of all, with your narrative here today. Be very careful with your spending. Be very careful with how it is that you're speaking to other people, because there is a high probability that you're going to hurt your own feelings and hurt other people's feelings in the process. So we do have to kind of realize where it is that we've been neglecting, really kind of taking a good look at what's going on in our inner realm. And we've been avoiding doing all the things that we need to be doing in order to regulate our emotions, our mental plane, and get in alignment with one another. And again, this is a huge activator that is supposed to kind of clean out the closet and prepare us for this great emotional purge that will be taking place under the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. The moon interacts with Neptune shortly after, and lucky for us, this is a good positive interaction, which means that we are doing a deep dive in the not so nice thoughts and feelings that are getting triggered and activated. And we're recognizing where it is that we got to stop being whiny and complaining about it, where it is that we got to stop being a baby about it, where it is that we got to boss up. We have to flip the script, take control, take power back, push ourselves into a new, let's call it empowerment phase, instead of just letting the not so nice thoughts and feelings take over us and turn us into a mushy ball of whininess. This is going to be a very intense energy. So even in the positive aspects that we have working for us here and bossing us up to new faith, new beliefs, new energy, new emotional and mental energy, it is coming on very, very strong, and it doesn't stay around for very long. So just when we're feeling like we conquered something, we are going to see the rug kind of be pulled out from underneath us. the moon will go ahead and oppose the north node, which means that the moon is riding the south node. And this is the eclipse energy through and through. We have this direct kind of opposition and direct conjunction between the south node and the moon taking place before the lunar eclipse. Of course, it is going to be within orb. That's what gives us our eclipse energies. But the moon opposing the north node, which is our soul path, our destiny point here in the Taurus energy, means that there is some hesitation to get on the right path that we need to be on, because the moon in Scorpio is kind of sitting on top of the south node, which is our past, what it is that we have to kind of grow out of, if you will. And the south node being in Scorpio energy has us very fixated on holding on to grudges, holding on to pain, holding on to trauma. What does that do? Well, it prevents our growth. It prevents healing. It prevents progress that the North Node in Taurus wants us to make. So again, there's this tension, there's this conflict arising because we're supposed to be losing our shit right now in order for this emotional purge and release to take place under the full moon peak energy. The last thing we got going on here today is the moon in Scorpio trining with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, in Pisces energy. This water on water action is what gives us the trine. They're working together. They're in commonality with one another. The moon in Scorpio, very, very intuitive. The Saturn energy, of course, Mr. Karma himself, ruling over our roles and responsibilities, our structures, if you will, of our belief system, being in that Pisces energy. Now, the good thing about water is that it is fluid. It has the ability to transform into another form that may work better for us. And it is very cleansing, very healing, very transformative. So we are kind of taking a good look at our current belief system and where it is that some of those limiting beliefs are preventing us from healing, from moving forward, from doing the transformation that we know that we need to make. And in that, we're able to kind of examine what needs to be built in its place, what stronger foundation of beliefs, of visions, of dream work we need to actually create in our lives. That's what Saturn is all about, is creating a new structure for us to kind of build off of. And Pisces energy is very much about our dreams, but we're in the phase right now where identifying what our dreams are is also identifying what our greatest fears are as well. And of course, our fears, our doubts, our insecurities block us from truly manifesting the dream and the vision that we're hyped up on bringing to life. And so there is this realization here on where it is that we have to kind of examine some of the blockages that we're creating within ourselves. And of course, those are manifesting in physical circumstances, blocking us from the progress that we would prefer to see ourselves making at this particular point in the calendar.